Hey, hey, hey.
Alright, so if you've been on NBA Twitter at all over the past like 48 hours or so, then you would have seen that this article pretty much came out involving Scottie Pippen. I think they're talking to him maybe about like his new alcohol that's coming out called Digits or something like that. I don't really know. I didn't look into it, but it was some article about that. But then it got to him spewing some takes about the current state of the NBA, and Scottie came out wilding yet again. One of his big takes, which honestly wasn't even that bad. You know, the first one didn't get off to a rough start at all. It was the later ones down the line that I'll be sharing with you that really went out of control. But this first one's not too bad. He basically said that he wasn't a fan of how Doc Rivers used Ben Simmons, specifically playing him in the fourth quarter. He thought that Simmons should have been out of the game. And then he then went on to describe, basically his thoughts, his analysis on what Ben Simmons currently is. And as you can see, he says he's still a good basketball player. Shooting's his weakness, and then he brings up Giannis in a comparison that both players can't really shoot that well. Yet Giannis continues to shoot because Scottie claims he's not afraid of failure, whereas Ben Simmons, on the other hand, is afraid of failure. And I think Scottie's actually saying some truths here. And this is someone who played at the highest level of basketball for quite some time, and I think he would know a thing or two about confidence and how a guy is able to carry himself on the court. So again, Scottie does not start off too bad. But then he gets to Kevin Durant. Obviously, Durant's Nets had just lost to the Bucks in OT in 7 games, but Durant was playing with no Kyrie Irving and a very, very hobbled James Harden. So we have Scottie here saying that Kevin Durant is a great player, and he went on to say that he could have easily made the 3, killed him in regulation, and we would have been talking about this, but he knew that going into overtime the Nets were going to lose because apparently he somehow knew KD was going to be too fatigued in the last 5 minutes after already playing like 200. Actually, let me think about this for a second. No, he'd be around like 200-ish minutes. I think he was somewhere in the like 220s, 240s on the series. And I mean, yeah, fatigue could have been an issue. It definitely was an issue in the fact that he airballed that last shot. But Scottie's saying that he should have relied on his teammates more and played as more of a team. It doesn't make sense to me. Kevin Durant was on the entire game. He was easily the best scorer out on the floor for the Nets. And in my opinion, I think any contested Kevin Durant shot was probably a lot better than any of the other shots they could have gotten with their surrounding units and players. So while I sort of agree that Kevin Durant was definitely fatigued out there, could he maybe have relied on his teammates a little more? Sure, but in terms of taking the last shots and taking most of the shots down the line in the fourth quarter, I mean, people really got mad at the Nets for not giving KD enough shots in the last 2 minutes of the game in Game 3 or whatever it was. So I don't really understand what he wants out of Kevin Durant. Again, fatigue was probably an issue, but I mean, for everyone it was. So then Kevin Durant doesn't even try to really defend himself, but just goes for the full-blown comeback on Scottie Pippen, takes to the Twitter streets, and says, didn't the great Scottie Pippen refuse to go in the game for the last second shot because he was in his feelings? His coach drew up the play for a better shooter. And yeah, this is a fact. Scottie Pippen, if you do remember, rode bench on the last play of the game when the final play was not drawn up for him, and then I'm pretty sure it was Tony Kukoc who ended up hitting the shot anyway. But KD essentially takes the in his feelings route, which Scottie appeared to be in his feelings, so I don't blame him for it. But then he just goes at Scottie even further, saying this guy Scott also wanted to enjoy his summer, so he chose to rehab during the season. Lol, yo, they followed Phil, not you. And that last part at the end, they followed Phil, not you, I think that easily goes down into the Twitter Hall of Fames for NBA Twitter beef, bars, lines dropped on the opposition. It honestly reminds me of when Draymond and Pierce had that short little beef where Draymond said, something about Pierce not getting a farewell tour, which even as a Pierce fan and Celtics fan, that was pretty funny. But yeah, the addition of the "they followed Phil, not you" was really just the icing on the cake for this tweet. But then Scottie went from bad to worse when he said that King James won a championship without any help, and then he specifically quote tweets it with a specific year and says, in the 2016 finals, which other star was out there with LeBron? He says this like he did not watch Kyrie Irving score just as many points as LeBron in Game 5 when they both had 41, and then in Game 7, step up and hit probably the biggest shot in NBA history. So I don't know what Scottie Pippen was watching in 2016, but LeBron definitely had plenty of help. Not to mention Kevin Love also had a pretty underrated series. So then the Stephen A. Smith replies to the tweet. He says, pretty much asked him, who is Kyrie Irving to you? And that was just, I thought that was a pretty good reply from Stephen A. Smith. But then Scottie, again, goes back to promoting his alcohol, bourbon, whiskey, whatever digits is. And he says he gets the year wrong. I say get 2015, you good. You're welcome for the content. So he's just trying to pass it off like he meant to do this, or it was just, it was just a simple mistake. He thought it was 2016, it was 2015. But no, Scottie, you were just being stupid. And while most of these occasions are usually generally pretty funny, they also just do a lot of damage to, especially NBA Twitter, but just NBA discourse in general. We've now seen 3 instances when either large NBA media personalities or former, superstar players are just blatantly telling lies to the NBA world, and it really should not be happening. First, we had Jay Williams saying that there had been no other black head coaches for the Boston Celtics after the signing of Ime Udoka, but he must have forgotten that in 2008, the Celtics won a championship with a black head coach in Doc Rivers. The Celtics have also had, I'm pretty sure it's the most black head coaches in NBA history, and many of them have won rings, and I just don't know how a prominent ESPN, basketball analyst, that you can say something like that and then just pass it off like you got hacked on Twitter. Because we saw you. We saw you with our own eyes, Jay Williams. Then I'm pretty sure it was Rachel Nichols who went on The Jump and said that the Phoenix Suns have never been in a NBA Finals before, which again is just wrong. They had one of, I won't say it was one of the more iconic ones, but they went and lost to the Jordan Bulls in the finals, which again, it's not an iconic one, but it was part of the infamous, or sorry, not even infamous. Why did I say infamous? No, it was a part of the famous double three-peat that Jordan and the Bulls had. So you'd think that people would remember that. And then we have Scottie Pippen, who I've already talked about probably too much in this video already. And it's really bad when these prominent NBA figures and people who are supposed to be spreading and analyzing the game of basketball, it's not even about not doing your research. It's just about not saying something about not saying anything about something that you haven't researched. It's okay if you didn't know that the Suns have been in a finals or not. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. But unless you do the research and find out, you shouldn't say anything on that topic until you have done the research and you know for sure. Because for some reason, it's somehow over and over again, it's the people who have the biggest followings who are making these mistakes, and their followers will just take it as they say it and then keep on spreading the false information. And I hope everyone understands how spreading a false information is never a good thing. So yeah, I'm personally sick and tired of these high-paid people and supposed analysts just continuing to get things wrong and have no repercussions for it, at least that we know of. So there's my I think this might be my first official rant outside of actual NBA gameplay, but it was kind of fun to just let loose a little bit.